Oh hey, don't mind me, I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to work through this backlog. There's so many games here and I haven't even got through half of these Connect Adventures. One of these days I'm going to figure out who's responsible for buying all these games, if I ever get spare time between playing them all. It could be a while. Time is precious. We only get roughly 72 years on this earth, and that's only 131,400 playthroughs of Mighty Number 9. It's not enough time! As we get older, it gets harder to dedicate that limited time to hobbies like video games between other responsibilities, but I still try to fit it in where I can. All rise. But of course, with Steam sales and humble bundles and the like, it's easier than ever to build up a pile of video games that you'll never have the time to play. In the days of physical games, you could at least resell the games that you never got around to, but those digital games will stick around in your library as a constant reminder of your shame. Sites like How Long to Beat and Backlog have popped up in response to this phenomenon. Maybe it's natural for gamers to rise up to any challenge presented to them, or maybe it's just the sunk cost fallacy, but many people will respond to a growing backlog with immense desire to clear it. And I'm no different. I've had it with this huge pile of unbeaten games. I won't let them sit here and mock me anymore. I'll show these video games who beats who. There. Let's see where that leaves us. Okay, so there's only like 1,000,000 billion left to go. Yeah, I can't keep this up. Being a gamer's been fun and all, but I think it's give up o'clock. Seems like it's time for a new hobby. I hear knitting's in season. Back in the day, the average game really wasn't that long. Hell, if you really pushed yourself, you could rent a game over the weekend and finish it before it had to go back to Blockbuster. As games got more and more complex, though, they started to get packed with more and more content. Not only did you have stories that took hours just to sit through, but for the completionists, you had mini-games to get high scores in, collectibles to track down, secret endings to unlock, and with the explosion in popularity of the open world genre, games that encourage you to just fuck off and do whatever you want no matter what piles up in the meantime. And that's not even mentioning multiplayer games. I'm more of a single-player guy myself, but I know that some people can spend hours upon hours queuing up for more and more matches or grinding away at an MMO. But unfortunately, we all have to set the controller down at some point. Life doesn't stop for any of us, and whether it's work, school, or other responsibilities, something's going to get in the way eventually. Sure, that's true of any hobby, but I feel like it's a bit different with video games. Although learning an instrument or something is also a big time commitment, it's a lot easier to pick it up and practice for a few minutes whenever you've got time. But depending on what kind of game you're playing, you may have a long way to go between checkpoints, or you might not be able to pause and step away if something comes up in real life. I love video games, but there's definitely been times where I've held off on starting a new one because I felt like I'd be too busy to give it the time it deserves, or abandoned a game I was really enjoying because it had just been so long since I had the time to sit down with it that when I finally do, I've completely forgotten what I was doing last time. So instead it gets added to the, yeah, I'll get around to those pile, which just keeps growing bigger and bigger until suddenly it starts to look like a full-time job just to put a dent in it. It's tough to divvy up your mental bandwidth between all the demands of adulthood, your social life, your hobbies, all while still making time to finish all these games and make a monthly YouTube show where you talk about them for 10 to 15 minutes at a time. Maybe I should pivot to makeup tutorials. Oh hey, don't mind me, I'm just you from the future. Oh, sweet. Hey, what's the future like?
It's not bad, though climate change has rendered most of the Earth uninhabitable, so we all had to move to Nineveh.
Oh, well, that doesn't sound so bad.
Oh, and gas prices went up.
Fuck!
But that's not why I'm here. I came back here to tell you something very important.
Can it wait? I'm really not in the mood. I'm too busy wrestling with self-doubt and despair.
You don't understand. I found the secret to beating your backlog.
Are you serious? You beat all these games?
No, that's the secret. You don't have to. You can just play as much as you want and move on if you get bored. And if you have to save some of the bigger games for later, there's no shame in that.
Oh my god, it makes so much sense. Why didn't I think of that?
Well, I mean, technically you did. Never mind. Have fun.
I've been going about this all wrong. Instead of viewing my backlog as an insurmountable pile of chores to be done, I should take it for what it is, a big pile of games that I can play whenever I want. No one's gonna hound you to finish your backlog, so there's no need to rush. If you don't have the mental fortitude after working hard all day to sit down with an intense 50-hour JRPG, that's fine. Save it for later when you have time and look through your backlog for a shorter, more manageable game. Ultimately, games are supposed to be fun. There's no need to wear yourself out trying to clear out a backlog. If you're starting to feel burnt out, try replaying an old favorite instead of starting something new, or just take a break. Having a backlog shouldn't be seen as a bad thing. It just means you have a bunch of games ready to go whenever you're in the right headspace to start them. That way, the next time there's a rainy day, you can say, you know what, I'm ready to find out what the deal is with this Shin Megami Tensei thing.
It stabbed me.
But if you do feel like it's getting out of hand and you want to start clearing it out, try banging out some of the shorter games between the longer ones if you want to keep things moving. If you're looking for suggestions for short and sweet games, here are some of my favorites that you can look through your backlog for. Donut County is a quirky, physics-based puzzle game where you move a hole around on the floor which grows bigger as you swallow more stuff into it. It reminds me a lot of Katamari Damacy in that things get more and more chaotic as you grow larger, and it should only take around 4 to 5 hours to finish. The Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 remake has a ton of challenges and achievements that keep me coming back to it, but just going through all the main goals doesn't take too terribly long. This is one that I keep installed for whenever I'm in the mood for some quick arcadey fun. Untitled Goose Games sort of launched a new genre that I like to call little stinker games. Games where you're given a little sandbox to act as a nuisance and cause a little bit of chaos. Goose Game and games like Little Kitty Big City and Thank Goodness You're Here are great for when you want to shut your brain off and have a little fun at the expense of everyone else. And of course, there are plenty of games out there that don't really have an ending that you can pop in whenever you're feeling burnt out on story-based games. I'm personally a big fan of zoning out to any of the Forza Horizon games.
Well, that's better. Recontextualizing my backlog as a journey rather than a chore has helped me make some really good progress. And hey, thanks to some hidden cameras, I finally got a picture of the bastard who bought all these games in the first place.